Ian, many thanks indeed for those words of welcome, and thanks for the opportunity to come and meet BALPA in session at your conference. And I'm grateful for BALPA's support for the work of the TUC, and particular words of thanks to your General Secretary Jim McCausland, who represents you very powerfully and effectively in much of our work. I was delighted even to see Jim on the One Show on Monday night. I think that's the first for a Union General Secretary to be sharing the sofa with Adrian Childs and Christine Breakley. I don't know whether this is an entree to Strictly Come Dancing, and you'll be a partner finding your way to other areas of the media. But I am glad to have the opportunity to join you today and to build on what I think is a strong relationship between BALPA and the TUC. And I guess my job as TUC General Secretary has some of the same challenges as yours as professional pilots, learning to expect the unexpected, trying to steer clear of unnecessary turbulence, and perhaps most difficult of all, resisting pressure to make dangerously sharp turns, especially in my case to the left. But let me begin by saying how much the TUC values having BALPA on board. It's vitally important that we're representative of all of Britain at work, and a trade union movement that includes pilots as well as professions such as scientists, engineers, indeed air traffic controllers, is undoubtedly a stronger trade union movement. And BALPA's a classic example of just what smaller specialist professional unions can achieve by focusing relentlessly on what members want, by combining the role of union and professional association, by being a champion of higher standards in your industry. You're helping to redefine the contours of modern trade unionism. And that's why over the past decade, your membership has grown from just over 7,000 to around 9,500, something that you should all be proud of. And indeed, I reflect a little ruefully that if only the rest of the trade union movement had matched that performance, we wouldn't have 6.5 million members now, we'd have almost 9 million. So it's fair to say that the TUC benefits hugely from the work that you do. But I want to talk today about the other side of the relationship, about how the TUC can support BALPA in reaching your objectives. As the umbrella group for 60 unions, we represent a huge diversity of workers in every sector of the economy, giving them a strong voice in the corridors of Westminster and indeed in Brussels too. And through the TUC's aviation group, bringing together BALPA, Unite, GMB and Prospect, we're addressing some of the key issues in your sector. Improving access to learning and professional development opportunities, campaigning for even higher standards of safety and security, and most recently, successfully resisting the planned introduction of ID cards. It was just plain wrong that the government sought to use workers at Manchester and London City airports as political guinea pigs to test their policy. And it was simply unacceptable that for pilots, no ID card would have effectively meant no job. So I pay tribute to the highly effective lobbying campaign that you ran to make ministers finally see sense. More broadly, of course, we're also working together to make the case for a thriving, sustainable aviation industry here in the UK. As a member of the Flying Matters and Future Heathrow coalitions, the TUC is committed to making British aviation the best in the world. And like you, we believe it's hugely important to square the circle between aviation, jobs and climate change. Whilst it's absolutely vital that the industry cuts its emissions, part of the challenge we face is to encourage a sense of perspective, to prevent aviation from being unfairly scapegoated stigmatised and blamed for its contribution to global warming. When Emma Thompson flew in from Los Angeles to attend a climate protest at Heathrow, I think the double standards of some of the anti-aviation lobby were pretty clear for all to see. Now, none of us would pretend that flying's good for the environment. After all, few activities are. But it's important to remember that the world's merchant shipping fleet has higher carbon emissions than the world's fleet of airliners. And as you know better than me, the industry is dramatically cutting its carbon footprint. To take just one example, the new Boeing 787 is around 20% more fuel efficient than its 767 predecessor, itself a far cleaner aircraft than the 707 that it replaced. So despite what the critics may say, real progress is being made. Whether it's sustainability to ID cards, I think we're helping to set the agenda. But at the same time, some huge challenges remain for aviation generally and pilots particularly. Let me start with the crucial issue of Europe. As you know from last year's battle over Article 43, there are real concerns about how some aspects of EU law restrict basic union rights. And this is compounded by the current lack of transnational bargaining across Europe, something that matters enormously in an industry like yours, with firms such as EasyJet now able to operate anywhere across the continent. So what we need is a level playing field for labour and capital, delivering the same freedoms for unions as for employers, and helping us to avoid the flag of convenience pitfall that has afflicted the shipping industry. Now, I know you're working through the International Labour Organization to push for change, and the European TUC is taking your case too to the European Union.